I wake up to the same old fight, chasing shadows in the night. Promises made, but I let them fade. Caught in the cycle, I'm feeling betrayed. Round and round, I'm losing ground. Trying to break free, but I can't see. These negative patterns are haunting me. Nights turn to days, I'm losing my way. Thought I found peace, but it's led me astray. Chasing the high, but it only brings pain. The more I run, the less I gain.
Hey everybody, hey, and welcome to another session of Tarika Say It Again. And today we have with us Mrs. Ardre Orie, who is the founder of 13th and Joan. Not only the founder, but she is a novelist and a celebrity memoirist. Say it for me again. Celebrity.
Memoirs, that's right.
Yes, ma'am. So she has a lot of titles behind her name, but at the end of the day, she's the lady, or as she liked to say, the queen who boosted, who helped my literary career. Yes, this
Yes.
is she. This is her. Oh, goodness. Well, we're going to carry on, and I want to start first because we always want to know, like, how you got started. What was the inspiration, right, that inspired you to create this publishing company? Because a lot of people, they write,
Right.
but what made you take it a step further and create this publishing house or this publishing company or umbrella just
Yeah.
for other individuals that have those same type interests as you?
Sure. Gosh, it was 2016 and I had resigned from my role as an assistant principal. My education is in education. And
Mm-hmm.
so I graduated from college with degrees in education. I was a teacher. I was a resource teacher, which is, kind of the next realm. And then eventually I became an assistant principal. And so I walked away from that position as an assistant principal in 2009. At that time, my family was living in Florida and we were transitioning. My husband got a job in Atlanta. And so, I thought about what I was going to do. The educational system, let me shout out to everyone who is a part of the educational system. My heart
Yes,
is
ma'am.
always there. Thank you so much to all of the educators, including you, Queen, who
Yeah.
see it not robbery to take care of the future generations. But when you change states, sometimes there is a need to change your certification or update your certification. And so for me, I made the decision. I had a young baby. Am I going to go back into this realm that I know requires so much of me? It requires me to be away from my children in many instances and trying to pour into other families and other children, or am I going to just reinvest my time into my family directly, which is what I
Mm-hmm.
made the decision to do. But so I asked my husband, I'm like, okay, now I know that I'm not going to just be here and taking care of the kids and washing and cooking and cleaning. Like there's more to me. I went to school for these things. And he said,
Mm-hmm.
well, why don't you just write? And I was like, I don't think you can really do a lot with that. I'm trying to have an income. And so he said, just write. So, anyways, I took his advice amidst doing many different things. I launched a nonprofit, and that nonprofit would go back into the school system. I launched a school of etiquette. I launched entrepreneurial school for young people. I did so many different business ventures, just really trying to find my way. And we recognize that success is not a straight path for that.
Right.
Anyway, in this whole why don't you just write process, one of the things that I did was to write a book. In the nonprofit it was servicing, at that point, I had built a community of 500 women and teen girls that we were servicing. And
Nice.
so I learned very quickly, if you want to make money, you need to be selling a product as well, a service and a product. You also need a signature product. So that product became lipstick and lip gloss, because that's one of the things that women, we love lipstick, we love lip gloss. So in
Right.
starting that, I was in Atlanta at a time where it was becoming the Atlanta we see today. It was becoming that kind of hub for entertainment, film industry, all the things. So I would go to photo shoots, I would go to movie sets and TV sets, and I would be the makeup artist in
Okay.
exchange for allow me to bring my products for product placement. So while I was on set, a lot of times women would get their makeup done and they say, "Oh, don't photograph me like that. That's not my good side." I noticed that women were really, really subconscious about the way that they looked. I noticed that lots of women had self-esteem concerns. And I'm like, "You look phenomenal. Like, what are you talking about?" So it occurred to me that women and self-esteem was something that needed to be addressed. I was feeling away because was not making the same income, which meant I had associated my self-worth with the ability to generate an income. As
Okay.
much as I was contributing to my family, I was feeling like, well, I'm not making, this money that I made before I walked away from this position. So, my self-esteem was shattered. These women, their self-esteem was shattered for various reasons. So I wanted to do something to address that. And I was already working with the women and teen girls. So I started this campaign, Consciously Beautiful, being very much aware of our inner beauty before
Mm-hmm.
addressing the outer beauty. In
Mm-hmm.
doing that, I decided to write a book about it and feature women who were non-traditional beauty. So at that time, we talked about there was a woman with alopecia. No one was really talking about alopecia at the time, not on a heavy scale. A woman who was very dark like me, a woman who was very fair, a woman who had freckles, a woman who was considered overweight by societal standards, someone who had been involved in a domestic violence relationship, just women from all walks of life who were considered non-traditional beauties. I gathered these women together and we had a retreat. And at that retreat, I had them to each share their individual stories. I listened to them. We went around. I didn't write anything down. After the retreat was over, we gave them all makeovers. After the retreat was over, I went back and I wrote each of their stories as if I were writing from their perspective. And I called each of them later and I read what I had written to them, had no idea how they would respond to it, and the tears and the emotions and all the things that you can imagine. So that book became a community book. It wasn't just my book, it was a book featuring their stories. So because they were so centered in the book, they felt that the book was theirs. In
Mm-hmm.
feeling that the book was theirs, they reached out to their communities. When we had the book signing, it was for everybody. So we had 21 people who were authoring this book, even though I was the name on the book. I had written it, and it was huge. We sold out, it was big. So from that book signing, long story short, I started getting calls from people. And one of the calls was from a publicist who said, "I have a client who has a show that's coming out, and I need to be able to get a book written for their storyline in 30 days. Do you think you can do it for me?" And I
Wow.
was like, "Well, I resigned from my job. I probably can." And that was the start of the publishing. So the reason that it became a publishing house was because after I was writing these stories, people needed a place to publish. And I thought, okay, well, I can create a one-stop shop for you to get your book written, for us to strategize ideation, for it to be published. And that's how 13th and Joan was born.
All righty then. I love it. She took us all the way back. And even thinking on how you shared with you leaving your school in what, Florida, being the principal and leaving that behind. And a lot of people don't know, but not only did she say, okay, certifications, how that changed, but the fact that you might have even had to start over as far as time put in. I
Correct.
know that's also something as well, but you not allowing that to, put you down, seemed like it was like, would you say like a catapult and, put you on a whole nother level, still in the educational realm
Hmm.
or the literary world,
Hmm.
but just different.
Yes, but it didn't feel like that at all. In full transparency, I felt like I was taking or had taken several steps back. I had
Okay.
worked for 5 years to get my degree. I had worked for 8 years in the school district, and I was really building. So the career that I anticipated, to me, I had to let go. It was a choice. It was choose family or career. That's the way I saw it, right? And so I chose family, but I was really down about the fact that I was not using what I thought I had been educated to do. So
Right.
I think that that's a discussion that we as women have to have. What are the sacrifices? What is the cost of being ambitious and what that looks like? Because we are making sacrifices regularly. And I'm not saying that men don't. I'm just talking
Mm-hmm.
specifically about women because
Yeah,
you're a woman.
correct. Win the women community.
Right.
Got you.
Right.
And not only that, just thinking about what you just said in that little moment, the fact that, and I guess this is another moment for you to just be transparent and say, do you feel because now you're not restricted, right, in your new role? As far as your job, you get to set your schedule, you have
Yeah.
freedom, so a lot of times we look at something maybe as a loss,
Yes.
but it wind up being a win later on down the line as you get that
Yes.
opportunity to reflect. You know what I'm
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
And thinking about that now, with me looking at you, and we just said we being a part of the women's community, right? But not only that, representation. You look like me. I want to ask, what has that journey been like for you as the founder in your position, or have you faced any challenges in this role or as a founder of a publishing company?
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, I cannot stress enough how challenging it is. Number one, there was not a blueprint for this particular business model. One of the things that I understood deeply was that the publishing industry, the traditional publishing industry, we call it the big five. And I do work on both sides of the industry, which has allowed me to learn a great deal. And first and foremost, many of those companies that are part of the big five have been in existence for 99 years or more, And so, with that being said, we weren't even allowed to be literate.
Yeah.
That's a tremendous consideration. It was against the law for us to have
Mm-hmm.
possession of books and to be reading.
Correct.
And so we have
Correct.
to understand that this is an industry that was constructed not necessarily with us in mind. So that's one. Number two, if we are not the majority, or if a structure was not created for us, then that also means we could be marginalized in that particular industry. And so, with an understanding of that, I wanted to create a business model that was favorable for authors. The challenge in doing that is that many people don't know the business. And so, if people don't know the business, they don't understand when you are trying to help or support. They don't understand pricing structure. There are many nuances that just may not be fully transparent to people. So, a lot of the work that we have been doing is not only publishing authors, but helping to try to educate people about this industry, helping people to understand that if we say we are doing a management fee, like our business structure, we actually do not collect royalties from our authors. We retain what's called a management fee, which is to keep the health of the title, meaning if the book is listed on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, we're looking at that title, making sure that it's not out of stock, making sure that the metadata, which is the information that talks about the book or shares what the book, is about, the book's categorization, the pricing, we're constantly looking at those things to make sure that an author's book is as it's supposed to be. And so,
Mm-hmm.
in doing that, we have to also have a team that takes care of that. So, we do a 10% management fee. But I can't tell you how many people have said, oh my gosh, I will never, let somebody take 10%, not recognizing that in the traditional publishing structure, an author might not be in the majority for the royalties that they receive. Whereas we have a business model where we're not even collecting on royalties
Royalties.
because we truly want to see authors win. But when you don't understand the business structure, everything can look like someone is trying to do something that may not be to your liking. And then there are lots of companies who do take advantage of authors. So this has been a journey of great advocacy because we've spent so much time trying to educate authors on the difference between, business structures and helping them to say, if this is not the business structure for you, make sure you find one that is for you. And here are the things you should be looking at. So I would say it's been very, very difficult. And in year 10, I
Okay.
was just talking to the team, right? Talking to the team and saying, we have come to a place where we have truly found the sweet spot for the type of clients we want to serve. I started out saying anybody that wants to publish a book, I want to help them do it because I believe that everybody should write at least one book in their lifetime. And while I still believe that, I don't have to be the person or the business entity to publish every single book. There are some companies that are better suited. There are some people that are better suited. So like, for example, you are a professional woman who wants and understands the importance of promoting your work. You understand that your book has a message, and you recognize that no matter what happens, you will always be the best advocate for the book because the vision was given to you. Lots of
Correct.
times people are looking, I want my publisher to do this and they should be doing that. Even with the big five, every author will always be their best advocate for their book. So, yes, it has been a tremendous journey. I wouldn't trade it, but we continue to evolve the way this business model looks because we want to continue to work with ladies like you who recognize the collaboration and the partnership and the value in that.
And I appreciate you just taking us back and reminding us of how once upon a time we weren't able to read.
Not
And that's some things that I feel we take for granted, right? And when we talk about being in the educational system, that's some things that we sometimes have to remind the kids like, look, once upon a time, you could not, your mother could not, your father, your grandparents, taking it all the way back, like generational, each generation it got better and better and
right.
better.
Yeah, yeah.
But what do you believe is the most important quality an author should develop when building, say, a lasting career? Because I heard you just now mention about basically being an advocate, for your product. But
Mhm.
maybe what else would you advise?
I think that authors have to take into consideration not just the book that they are writing. Many times, and I can speak from an author's perspective as well, you're so excited about that book that you zero in on that book and you don't take the time to think about the career and the longevity. And so it is really important to understand one, who you are in the market, who you are in the world, and to then recognize what need you serve. We are coming from a place where the story has been placed inside of us, and so we want to tell that story. But I would challenge everyone, including myself, to continue to reposition the thought process towards who am I called to serve? What group of people am I supposed to be serving? And what does that service look like? That will reframe the way you write the story. It will reframe the expectations you have for the book. And it will also give you a sense of freedom that you did not have because it doesn't limit you to one type of story. So, for example, I have been doing lots of branding work, and in that branding work, what I have been mastering is who I serve. Who is that audience? And that audience is primarily, right? The first audience, primarily Black women, ages 30 to 55. And yes, that is a large range, but there's some breakdown in between. These are
Mhm.
women who understand the Harlem Renaissance, but they will also nuck if you buck. These are women who love a good church, right? And they might leave and go to a jazz brunch. These are
Mhm.
women who enjoy a good glass of wine. They love Scandal. They love Issa Rae's productions, whatever it is that she does. But they are also intellectuals. Most of these women have been to college. They would have been shopping at Target. We're just not doing it anymore, okay? These are women who may or may not have gone to an HBCU, but they have the HBCU authenticity somewhere up and through, right? So I can tell you so many characteristics about the woman that I am serving because I can see her face so clearly. So that means that if I write a thriller, I know what I need to feed her from a thriller. If I write a children's book, I know what to feed her from the children's book. If I decide to write something completely different, a romance, I can feed that woman because I know what she needs. I am here to serve that woman. And so I would say the most important thing that authors can do is to recognize who they are here to serve and to really get on target with that audience.
Thank you. How do you build the business side of publishing along with your very own passion that you have and your purpose behind storytelling?
Mm-hmm. Whew, Lord, I have not, I, for the last 10 years, have put my passion aside, honestly.
Okay.
I
Okay.
would love to say that I had a dynamic balance and I worked on my own things, and I did not. As a ghostwriter, I poured everything I had into the documentation of the lived experiences of the authors whom I have served. And it has been an honor to do that. And I absolutely will not ever stop doing that. I felt it very necessary to document these stories. These are stories of voices that we as a community cannot afford to lose. Legends, political figures, those who have been great orators, those in the entertainment field, those in education, so many amazing people that I've had the privilege to write for, and I don't take that for granted. But when I was doing that, I was just in a position of serving, and I understood that. And so what I have done in the last, I would say, year and a half, 2 years, is carved out space to allow the stories that I have been holding hostage to breathe.
Okay.
And I had to be intentional about doing that. And that is why the business structure is looking a little different. That's why my positioning is looking a little different, because I had to be very intentional about it. Because either you're going to serve or you're going to run, right?
Right.
You
Right.
can do both, but it is very hard to do both well. And so whatever I do, I want to do it in excellence. And so I'm at a position now where I'm serving very strategically, but I'm also running towards the dreams and goals that I have.
Right. So, in final, what advice would you give aspiring authors who are trying to find their voice, their place in this literary world?
I would say that, one, there should be some sense of urgency. When we think about the current climate, not just in our country, but of the world, there
Hmm.
should be some sense of urgency to document your experiences. Because when we think about volatile moments in history, the documentation of the people who actually lived during that time becomes of immense value to the people who will read it later. And so we must recognize that we are the people who are responsible for documenting the now. We do not want the now to be rewritten. We've seen several instances of erasure, from monuments being removed and others being
Yes.
put back
Yes.
up. We've seen several instances of museums having to revision or revise the things that are there that we know are true, or to tell the stories in different ways. And so I think it's imperative for us to recognize that we are all archivists of this moment. So
Hmm.
there should be a sense of urgency. And the way in which you write it down can look very different. Not everybody has to write a novel, right? You can write 100 moments of 2026, right? There are so many ways, but we must hasten to get the now documented. That's one. Two, I would say it is really important when you talk about, the business structure for authors, is to recognize that writing a book is starting a business, right?
Yes.
You should have a separate banking account for your transactions. You should make sure that you're tracking what it is that you are investing in the production of your book and set that as a goal to make that money back. You should
Right.
consider the ways in which you are going to sell books. And I am an advocate of, I'm aging myself, but I'm an advocate. I remember Master P used to sell CDs out of the
Yes,
trunk. Okay.
Trump.
Okay. You should be doing that. As an author, people should not come into contact with you and leave not being aware of the fact that you have a book. Now, your book might not be for them. Your book is not for everyone, but they should know that you have a book and they should know what your book is about so that if they find someone who needs it, they can point them to you with ease. So I think that it's very important for authors to recognize that they are launching a business. You also, lastly, need to take it seriously, right? You do not put in all the work to write the book. You do not allow that idea to sit on your heart and in your head and in your mind for all this time to set it free to then let the books collect dust. You have to get out and you have to work because the story deserves to be told. It deserves to be heard. And people are in need of what it is that you have to say. So business means making something happen. It means not being upset that the people that you think will automatically support you will. It means not thinking that just because you build it, they will come. It means taking it seriously. It is a business venture.
Gotta get your hustle on.
You must.
Yes. And as she always reminds us, you all, that we have stories to tell. She is constantly reminding us of that. She just said that we need to be archivists. That's a new one I'm going to add to my vocab.
And do.
Thank you.
And do.
Yes. Thank you so much. And
You.
listen, for those of you all that have tuned in and want to know more about 13th and Joan, this is the queen, the face behind it. And yes, she published my book, Addictive Patterns. And listen, I definitely am so thankful and grateful for just simply coming in contact with you.
Mhm.
And it has been a blessing.
Yes,
And I look forward to future endeavors.
that's right, Queen.
And thank you all for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to YouTube, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Thank you so much.
That's right. So proud of you.
Have a good one.